Views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Tuesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Today is 11/22/11/22, and we are here for you from 1 to 2. So it's a kind of a special day. You don't get to see it too often. We have a lot to talk about today. We're also going to play some more basketball previews and coaches interviews that our good friend Ty Bartell was able to get last week. You're going to hear interviews from Garfield head coach Andrew Oleski, and then we'll hear from Salem boys basketball coach Andres too. Both of those pre-recorded interviews. But first, we have to recap all the action from last night, and there was great basketball on the floor. More teams kicked off their season with really good performances. We had a couple of players get 30-plus points last night, and we will start with Austintown Fitch. They win over Ashtabula Lakeside 92-14, not a typo. And Zeta Creaky breaks the Austintown Fitch scoring record with 44 points in this game. And this game sparks up the conversation that we seem to have every basketball season, which is, where do you draw the line between, running up the score and this playing basketball? And I know there are people on both sides of the fence, and it's a murky conversation, and it's one that I think, like I said, we always have during basketball season. This is one where you got someone going for a record. Now, it was probably, figured out pretty early that this was a possibility. Now, I saw the first quarter score was 42-0, Austintown Fitch. And that's one that you just kind of go, man, like the game was decided, from the jump. So you sit there and you wonder, where's the line drawn? What's the difference between, trying to let your players go for a record, which is, a once in a lifetime opportunity when you're feeling it like that, and you're going to try to score 44 points in a game. And then obviously you got to show respect to your opponent. You can't be one of those, teams that, tries to, turn your nose up at people or disrespect the people that you're playing across from the bench from you. Like I said, it's a heavy discussion. I don't think there's a bumper sticker answer, and that's something that I use a lot because I think a lot of people try to take really heavy discussions that have a lot of kind of different, viewpoints and variables, and they try to take it into a bumper sticker answer and say, well, there it is. It's just a simple one sentence. Don't do that. And when I look at this, it's not that simple because, you look at it, like I said, you have a player who is one of the best players in the area. Obviously, a lot of people know who Zeta Creaky is. She has a lot of goals set for herself, and I'm sure scoring the most points in a game by anyone in the Fitch program, and that really illustrious program that has seen a lot of good basketball players come out of it. You want her to be able to get that. So that makes it kind of dicey. You're not just trying to one up. You're not just trying to run up the score. You're trying to get a player to get a milestone and get a personal record. And I think it's kind of the same. Like if you had someone that was going for their 1,000th point. And maybe this was their, like, if it was in the middle of the season and this was a home game, the next couple games were on the road. You really want them to get that 1,000th point at home. So you let them stay in and you let them try to get that. It's kind of things like that. And I know there's always people that are going to say, well, you can't run up the score and you can't, be disrespectful. And I'm all for that. I get it. 92-14 is always going to be a score that you look at and go, doesn't really look that great. It's not a great look. But on the other end, there are like some people as competitors that don't necessarily like it when you water down your game just to cater to their inability to stop you. I remember, when I would participate in gym class in middle school and in high school, and obviously my peers couldn't play, full on, physical with what I was doing, but I would also very much like be don't ignore me on the floor. There'd be some people that were like, if we were playing wiffle ball, they'd purposely dribble the ball and drop it so I could be safe at first. It's like, nah, I'm not really a fan of that. I don't want to be, one of those guys that is like, I have to purposely dribble the ball and let it roll off my foot so you can be safe. Like there's a line there that I want you to meet. And I remember even like playing intramurals in fifth and sixth grade with my peers, which really was the last time I was able to play basketball with the people I went to school with. Um, you know, the first set of games, I would get the ball and it would be like parting the Red Seas where everyone would just avoid me and they just let me go into the hoop and score. And, that's always the feel good moment. You always see that kind of moment on Sports Center when like the team manager, gets the ball and everyone on the team just kind of stops and just looks and lets them go. And it's a great moment. And there are definitely times for moments like that. But for me, as someone who is uber competitive and maybe just for physical reasons can't, match that, I went to the other coaches in the teams in our next practice because we all practice together. So I was like, I know you can't play full on defense on me. I get that there's like that line that you can't cross, but I was like, I do not want to be just like part the Red Seas and let Anthony go right to the hoop. So, let's find a little midline. Everyone put their hands up, stuff like that. But there are people that like don't like it when you just stop playing, just because it's almost more embarrassing for a team to just hold the ball for a minute just because that they can't run an offense without scoring and they don't want to run up the score. Eh, this is why it's kind of it's funny. There are teams that will take it that way, and there are teams that'll take it the other way of saying, we don't like getting beat up that bad. So you gotta be careful. You gotta navigate the situation. And I like I said, I know 92-14. There are gonna be people that look at that and it doesn't for their point of view, it doesn't look good. I'm one of the people that I'm not necessarily upset about it. I'm not saying that it was, I'm not going to wag my finger at Fitch for saying, Zeta Creaky, someone who's put in all the time and effort into that program to say she's going to get, a record, a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we're going to stop her from getting that. And then I saw, this a PSA. I saw a lot of parents, from other schools, why is she in the fourth quarter? Well, I just, if you were on the other side of that, where your son or daughter was playing in whatever sport they're playing, and they were going for a once in a lifetime milestone, a record, and the coach set them out, I feel like, I not speaking for it, but I feel like there would be some select words for that particular coach if your son or daughter was not able to get that milestone because they were taken out of the game because the game was decided. So maybe take a little bit of a broad view when you're talking about that, and especially think about what you would do if it was in your situation. I don't know. It's one that, like I said, it's a discussion to have. It's not a bumper sticker answer. And congratulations at the end of the day to Zeta Creaky, who won 92-14 and got the Fitch record in the first game of the season for points in a game with 44 points. So Fitch is 1-0, and they will move on in the season, and they have some tough games coming up on their horizon. We go into the game that I was at, 52-36. Western Reserve beats Matthews. And you look at this game, I was there. This is the game I got the chance to call. Western Reserve, they definitely looked healthy. That's for sure. I know last year They started the season with a couple of players hurt from volleyball season. They dealt with injuries the whole year. They kept fighting through it. This year they come. Everyone that was supposed to be a starter last year to start the season was a starter this year. They're definitely a lot more healthy than they have been. They had a slow start, but you can kind of attribute that to it being the first game. And I was kind of, I know it's kind of silly to say with a 52-36 score because you think, well, the Western Reserve just kind of blew them out of the water. I was really actually impressed with Matthews. If you go back and watch that game, there were times when Western Reserve could have probably made it a much even more runaway game. They made a couple of 9-0 runs that Matthews kept answering and kept trying to fight. They never, ever, ever once in that game stopped playing like it was a close game. And I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching teams that don't give up. They pressed, even in the fourth quarter when they were down by 12, the game was not in question. They pressed like they were down by 2 and they needed to turn over to save the game, and they could try to tie things up. It was very impressive. I saw that from their JV and their varsity. I've never met their coach before until last night, and I really like what their coaching staff is doing. They definitely get those girls to play for them. They have a girl named Brooke Bauer who is really good. He scored 17 points for Matthews. If they can get some of those contributing factors to start getting involved, they had 3 players with 6 to go along with her 17. So maybe a couple more of those players get into double figures instead of 6. Matthews can be a pretty competitive team considering the schedule they play, and they're going to play a lot smaller level teams than Western Reserve in the rest of their season. So I think when we get to the end of the season, when we get to February and we look at Matthews, I think they'll have a very very respectable record. I wanted to give them a shout out. I know they're not a YSN team, but real recognize real, and I love when I see teams that maybe just don't have the talent that is matched up with them on the floor. But the effort was definitely there. And if Western Reserve did not show up and just relied on their talent last night, Matthews would have beat them, because we always hear it, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And Western Reserve definitely worked in that game. They never kind of lazed into it. They never kind of took their foot off the gas pedal, and that's why they won. But if Western Reserve would have just laid back, then their talent would not have been good enough to beat Matthews. And that might be something that catches some people off when Matthews pops into the gym. Maybe one of these teams down the road disrespects Matthews a little bit and doesn't give them their full focus. Matthews' effort is going to be able to win that game if you don't show up and play like you're supposed to. I guarantee that. Plus, when you have that kind of effort and you do have a girl that can go and score from anywhere on the floor like Bauer, you can upset some people. So I'd watch out for that Mustangs team if anyone else has them pop up on their schedule later on in the season. Hubbard and Badger played a really good matchup. 43-35, Hubbard gets the win to open up the season. This is a Badger team that got to host a playoff game last year. Excuse me. They were able to, do a lot of really good things last year. Obviously, they got upset by Lowville at home in the tournament, but they were still good enough to be a top seed in that bracket. One of the top seeds, I should say, to host. And that's a really good win for Hubbard to open the season. We have Crestview. This is another impressive performance that I talked about at the top of the show. 63-34, Crestview gets the win. Freshman Addison Rhodes scores 33 points in her varsity debut. The Rebels also have 2 more in a double-double fashion. 63-34, they get the win over Beaver Local, and they definitely made a statement that they are going to be a team to watch in that MVAC grade tier. We thought they might be, but, last year they were kind of unproven. They were kind of young. They made some young mistakes that kept them out of those games against the bigger teams. So you kind of come into this season, it's an unknown, right? We think they're going to be good. We think they're talented. We think they can step up. Well, game 1 at least, they look very, very good. And they had 3 players in double figures. They had 2 double-doubles, and they had a freshman in Addison Rhodes drop 33. So, things are looking good for Crestview. Things are looking good for that whole MVAC grade tier. You look at it, you got Brookfield, Garfield, who looked really impressive on Saturday. Brookfield hasn't opened yet. They will open tonight, actually, against Lakeview. So you have Brookfield in there, Garfield, champion Liberty, who plays Fitch on Friday. Fitch that just won 92-14, a little bit tougher opponent coming up on Friday against Liberty, who obviously won a district championship, brings everyone back. I know that Sienna Smith is hurt, but they bring everyone back from that regional qualifier. And that's going to be a fun game as well. But then you also have champion in there as well. So that MVAC grade tier now I can firmly say has 5 teams that I wouldn't be shocked if either any of them won that championship. And if you look at our power rankings, actually, that came out on our socials about an hour ago, that's why you see so many of the teams in that conference pop up on that list. There's a lot of respect for that. Congratulations to Niles. They got their first win of the season in the opener, 51-43 over LeBray. Niles has been a program that has been struggling the last couple of years, so it's really nice to see them start the season on the right foot, get a win over a pretty good LeBray team that has been a quality basketball team the last couple of years. So 51-43, maybe Niles is a team that can make some waves a little bit. Orange gets the win over East Tech, 64-11 in their season debut. How about East? They bounced back from the heartbreaker in overtime against the Lakeview. They win over Struthers 45-28. This was surprising. Struthers is one of those teams that we all came into the season thinking, they can really be a team that can make waves in the NE8. Not saying they can't. You never say 2 games in that this team's done. But the first 2 games, they have lost, and they haven't been they haven't been doing much to compete. East beats them 45-28. Obviously, we kind of gave them a walk for Walsh Jesuit. You lose to a Division I team, but now you lose to East, and it's sitting there like, okay, maybe Struthers has some things to figure out. They definitely have a lot of time to figure those things out because they're off for a little bit. But Struthers 0-2 to start the season, not exactly what I expected from the Wildcats. 42-37, Newton Falls gets JFK in a thriller. Probably one of the best games on the network last night. Congratulations on the Tigers to opening their season with a win. Pymatuning Valley gets the win over Jefferson 36-26 last night. And then we will end our not in our finals. We have 2 more. Excuse me. 56-50. Alliance beats Waterloo. Rose Couch had 22 points for the Vikings. You look at this game, though, caveat to this is the Vikings were without Karen English. English, from what I've been told from people that were there, looks pretty healthy in warm-up, should be back soon, but still trying to get over a little bit of a nagging injury that she suffered during soccer season, so she was unavailable last night. But this Aviators team beat Waterloo last year to open the season, and Waterloo went on a 20-game winning streak after that. So I wouldn't hit the panic button if I was a Waterloo fan, especially once you get back Kara English. Rose Couch did an amazing job, scored 22. And this was a game that the way it went down, you could probably say, with Kara English in there, you might be able to close it out. I don't like playing the if game, but Waterloo had. I want to check the numbers just to make sure I'm right on this. They definitely had a sizable lead late. It was 48-40. They were up with 48-40 late in the game, but then the Lions went on a 16-2 run and eventually won 56-50. So they had a lead. They had control of the game. Maybe they're able to close it out if Kara English was on the floor. But there are no maybes, there are no closes, and there are no moral victories in basketball. Coach Longenecker will definitely figure things out. We hope that Kara English is able to get back on the floor as soon as possible for Waterloo, and we definitely still excuse me. You got to make sure it's gone. I didn't want to start talking again if it wasn't gone. But we definitely still have high hopes for the Waterloo Vikings as they continue their season. We have Cheney beating Camel Memorial by 1 point, and a heartbreaker for Camel and a thriller for Cheney. 26-25, they get the victory. All the finals are there, and those were the girls' basketball finals from last night. A lot of big performances. Like I said, obviously Zeta Creaky breaking the Fitch record for most points in a game with 44. You have Addison Rhodes, not breaking the record, but going in as her first game as a varsity starter, his first game as a varsity player as a freshman, and dropping 33 on Beaver Local. And then you have Rose Couts in a losing effort, dropping 22. She really put the team on her shoulders without Kara English, and that's impressive too. 3 really good players that we're going to see a lot from this season making big waves. Also, in that Western Reserve game, we talked about Brooke Bauer from Matthews getting 17. I forgot to mention that Lisa Eichert, who was one of the players that was hurt a big chunk of last basketball season, started her day and her season with 17 points. So she was able to get that. And big night for Western Reserve, big night for all of our teams. We'll have another big night tonight. 3 games on the network, but they're really, really good ones that you'll want to stay tuned for. We will preview the game a little bit later in the show, but first we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with some basketball interviews on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Or visit us on the web. Check us out online at MyersFamilyINS.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig with you from 1 to 2. And we are going to get you a coach's corner and a basketball preview as we go on the boys' side. We're going to hear from Salem boys head coach Jeff Andres. Ty had a chance to catch up with him last week. Let's hear what he had to say about the upcoming season in Quaker City and what to look forward to with Salem boys basketball.
Welcome in, everybody. Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we are in the EBC with Salem boys basketball coach Jeff Andres joining me today. Coach Andres, how we doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. Snow is falling from the air. It's really starting to look like basketball season out there, Coach, and it's right around the corner. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been seeing in practices. I know football season went later, as it usually does in Salem, but that means you guys have a little bit shorter practice window. But what have you seen in the practice time that you've gotten?
Yeah, we got our guys back actually fairly quickly as they lost football in the first round. So we've kind of been at full strength after about a week or so, which is a little bit earlier than the last couple of years. But just seeing a lot of good competition going on. You know, we got a lot of answers to figure out. We lost a lot of guys that played a lot of minutes for us last year. So some question marks that are out there that are being answered, and just seeing a lot of guys hustling and getting after it and being very coachable. So really pleased with how things have gone so far.
Let's take it a step further and actually get to meet the team this year. Some of maybe the returning faces, and if there's some new faces we're going to have to get accustomed to in the Quaker community, why don't we shout them out now?
Yeah, no doubt. We don't have any returning starters. All of those graduated, but a couple key guys that we're looking for. We have 4 returning Letterman and Caden Swiger, senior guard. Ross Davidson is a junior guard. Lance Bailey is a junior guard. Cam Sampson's a junior guard, and Trent Fink is a junior guard. So, those guys kind of round out probably our starting 5 going into it. Looking for some good good play from Colin Risen, who is a sophomore, 6'3" sophomore, doing a lot of good things for us. And Evan Jones, who's a 6'6" sophomore, doing some good things for us as well. DJ Kozar and Andre Portillo are a couple seniors that are looking to get some playing time as well. So those are some faces. Those are some new faces, some guys that have played a little bit in the past, but looking for some big minutes from them this year.
When you look at all of that too, with these new faces that you guys do bring in this year, I'm sure it's got to be exciting in the Salem community, because it's like a mystery box. You don't know what you're going to get this year. But to kind of give us a preview of like what you're seeing and kind of sum it all up, what would you say the strengths of this team are that you guys are going to need to play to get wins this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is exciting to see, these young guys, because you aren't real sure what they are going to do. But we feel like we got some athleticism. We're pretty positionless in terms of, guys that are interchangeable, and we don't really have an extreme post player and an extreme point guard. We got a lot of guys that can play a lot of different positions. So our athleticism, I think, is a strength. We got some kids that can shoot. Hopefully we can shoot it well on most nights. And if we feel like we can do that, we'll be in good shape. And they defend pretty well. They get after it. They hustle, and, some hard-nosed kids. So like you said, kind of a mystery box, but we'll see. And we're excited about the makeup of our team.
This is also a very tough conference that you guys play in and year out. It's always a good basketball conference, and it looks to be the same this year. In looking at the conference, the EBC conference as a whole, what are going to be some of the challenges inside the conference, and what are you guys going to need to do to have a good showing inside the conference this year?
Coming into it, as you said, there are some good teams, some good quality players that are in the conference. They're going to create extreme challenges for us. Some of the teams going in that we're looking for to do good things, or at least I guess favorites going in. Alliance, the returning league champion, has a lot of their pieces back, so they're going to be a challenge, no doubt. Their athleticism, their size, they seem to reload year after year, and they got a lot of good kids back from last year's championship run. West Branch is very deep. kind of like they are in football. They have a great run going in football this year, but they have a lot of the same kids that are playing basketball for them at a high level, and they're very deep as well. Carrollton has a lot of their kids back. They only graduated one senior, and the Rinkus kid who plays for them, a point guard, he's very good. And Marlington has some good kids back too. I know they lost the Evanich kid, but they have some good pieces as well. So it's very challenging night in, night out. I don't think there's any night off in the league, especially on the road. It's a very tough league to win in consistently, and a very tough league to win it on the road. So, we're going to have to do what we try to do. We're going to have to defend at a high level. We're going to have to hustle. We're going to have to out hustle people, play hard. We have to make shots. But, we'll see how it goes. But, kind of flying under the radar a little bit this year. Last year we had some expectations going into it, coming off of a EBC co-championship. So, this year we're kind of flying under the radar. So I don't know. I kind of like that role a little bit better, but we'll see how it goes. But definitely a challenging conference, and looking forward to it.
Okay, so those are the games you have to play. Those ones are on the docket regardless. The non-conference ones are the ones that you guys have a little bit of choice in what you play. And you mentioned it's a young team. You mentioned some new starters, but it's a baptism by fire kind of year in the non-conference once again for Salem basketball. What matchups are you excited for to kind of test these younger guys to see what kind of stones they have in these?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's looking at it, we sit down as a staff and as a team and kind of analyze a little bit the challenges that we do have coming up, and it's pretty intense. We got non-league games against Ursuline, Canfield, Girard early in the season, Springfield. We start off with Niles, who's going to be a much different team than they were. Liverpool in the county they're always good. They're very athletic and big, and they seem to reload in this sport as well. South Range, we got Cardinal Mooney on the schedule again this year, who made a great run last year. So those are all super challenging games. So we're really going to have to play well, and we're really going to have to play well often in order to compete night in, night out. Towards the end of the season, we have a couple county rivalries that we have going against United in some of those games, but we're going to have to be ready to play every night, early, in the middle, and late in the season, to be able to get some W's. So we'll see how it goes, but we certainly didn't take off in terms of challenging the kids every night.
What's also interesting in how your schedule kind of shook out this year is that there's kind of a big stretch of road games sandwiched in between two stretches of home games. I mean, you talk about you play the schedule that you get, but I mean, I got to figure this is going to be kind of beneficial for you guys to have that stretch of road games to test these guys, but you got the home games to kind of sandwich them in between.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We start off with 3 games on the road, and then we have 4 or 5 right in a row that we're at home, and then we go on the road again for several, and then we end the season with a little bit of a home stretch. So I don't know how that works out. Every year, it is a little bit different with the way the contract goes. I kind of let the AD kind of Matt Freeman deal with that, and whoever he can get on the schedule, we'll play. That's what I tell him. I said, we'll play anybody. It doesn't really matter. I'm not keeping track of my career record or anything like that. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in having some fun and having these guys compete, and the ability to compete, and give them the opportunity to compete every night. So it is who it is, it is what it is, and we will play who we play. But it is kind of neat how it worked out, where we have some road stretches followed by some home stretches. So we'll see how it plays out.
Looking at this team too, with a bunch of new guys and new starting roles that have been filled out, what are you kind of looking at leadership wise, and who's kind of established themselves as leaders in these practices going forward for this season?
Yeah, a couple guys that come to mind to me are Caden Swiger, who played a lot of varsity basketball for us last year, not necessarily in a starting role, and Ross Davidson, who again played a lot of varsity basketball for us. Both those kids have been instrumental in the success that the football team has had. They've been instrumental in some of the success that we've had. They are competitors, as competitive as kids you want to, as anybody. And those guys have led by example. They've been vocal leaders, and they've kind of matured quite a bit over the last year or 2 years. So we're looking for those guys to lead us, and some of the other guys that Cam Sampson had some good moments last year for sure. So looking for some big things from him as well.
And you look at all these guys coming back. It's a tough conference. It's a tough schedule. We're excited to see what you guys can bring to the table. I'm also curious, though, as far as your staff is concerned. We always like to meet the staff year in and year out, whether it changes, whether it stays the same. We know they're just as important to the program as well. So we'll give you the chance to shout them out, maybe some other big names in the program as well.
Yeah. Staff, I think we have a very good staff. We have a lot of head coaching experience between all of us, and I'm a type of guy that likes to have input. They give input, and I take that input. We talk about, collectively what we need to do, what we're seeing, and so forth. So it's certainly not a one-man show. Coach Spack, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, I played for back in the 90s, has been here. It seems like forever, both boys and girls program, knows more basketball than probably most in the area. He's going to assist us this year. Vince Natoli is also a varsity assistant who was the girls' head coach. He's kind of bounced all over the place, been in a lot of different programs, and it's always good and interesting to hear his take on things because he's seen so much. Coach Mowry, who's been here as well for quite a while. He was a head coach at United for a while, but then he's been here for several years as our JV coach. Very knowledgeable. Real pleased to get him on staff. He teaches here at the school now. And then Derek Frederick will be a new addition. He's been at the middle school level for us for a couple of years, but he's now at the freshman level. So I think it's a solid staff, a lot of basketball knowledge. We get along pretty well. And like I said, a little bit of a different take from each one of those guys. You don't want a bunch of yes men in the locker room just telling you how great everything is going. You want to talk about things. You want to try to figure things out. And you want some different ideas. And I think we get that with the staff. So, looking forward to working with them and looking forward to see what we can do with this squad.
Having all those kind of contrasting thought styles too, when you guys do come together and you agree on things, what is that one thing you agree on that gives players playing time outside of the skill level? Obviously, what are the things you're looking at player wise that give them playing time, give them a role on this team?
Well, just being coachable, as we break down film and we're seeing things, we're going to do that tonight we had a scrimmage last night. So we have some things that we want to work on and we want to look at and see how it went, kind of experimenting with some different things early on. That's kind of how it goes. And, just for the guys to be coachable, take what we're trying to get them to do, watch them as we're studying film, practicing things, different drills, and just looking for them to be coachable and be able to, understand what we're trying to get them to do, but then also go out and do it.
What's the kind of culture you want to set with this Salem team? And in other words, when these guys have moved through, you had another crop of seniors just move through. When these guys move through, what do you hope that they say they took away from not only you, but this whole program?
Well, we want guys to play hard. I think that's kind of cliche, but everybody wants kids that want to come and play hard, defend. And we want people to know that when they come to the campus here in Salem, that they're going to be in for a battle. And when we're on the road and coming to their place, they're not going to have a night off when they're playing the Salem Quakers. And I think we've done that. We haven't been necessarily, a winning team in terms of record, but I do think that if you ask coaches in our league and coaches in our area, our teams, that they feel like we play hard and we get after it. And on any given night, we can beat you. That's kind of what we want to be known about us.
You have also a winning record as far as high character athletes that go through Salem's program. And I mean, they're not short of those at all. When you talk about having that many kind of just high character athletes, obviously you, the coaching staff, play some effect on that. What are some life lessons that you try to incorporate inside the sport of basketball that can kind of translate off the hardwood for these kids once they are out of high school?
Yeah, I try to be a positive guy. I'm an optimist. I always have said that. I try to, wake up each day and tell myself and have a good day. And I try to, emulate that to not only my students, but my athletes. So that's certainly something, you have a control over that. I'm a big advocate of having fun. This is it's a small part of life. It's high school sports. It's not the end all. So you should be having fun doing this. This is some of the moments that you're going to look back on and how quick time flies. It's crazy, but you're going to look back on it, and hopefully these are some good memories and some times that you had fun. So as long as you do those things, you go about it with a positive attitude, you have a little bit of fun, and you play hard, then those are things that I want them to learn from me.
I mean, I know one thing that's fun is when you have everyone in Quaker country come out to the cab and fill it up for a Tuesday or a Friday night. So, Coach, to put a bow on this whole thing, let's shout out to the community, give a little bit of shameless self-promotion for this team. Let that community know why they need to come out and support this boys basketball team this year.
Yeah, I tell you what, there is nothing better if you come out to the Cabas here in Salem and see the crazies behind our bench going nuts. I think we have one of the best student sections in the area. You know, you look back at some of the games we had last year down the stretch here at our place. It's just an unbelievable atmosphere. You know, high school basketball, it's a little bit more up close and personal than say football and some of those other sports. And I think our not only our school, but our community does a great job and getting behind us and supporting us. So, you know, looking forward to that in the next coming, few months. And hopefully we'll give them a performance that they could be proud of.
We're always proud to say that the Quakers are part of the YSN banner, Coach, and we are excited to continue our coverage of Salem boys basketball in the 2022-23 season. Don't forget, you can catch some Salem boys basketball games completely free on ysnlive.com this regular season, thanks in part to our wonderful sponsors. This has been another edition of Coach's Corner, first one of the year with Jeff Andres from Salem boys basketball.
Like Ty just said, that was Jeff Andres, the head coach of the Salem boys basketball team. Looking forward to a really fun season from them. We want to fit one more interview into this show before we get out of here, so we're going to go right from that to another really interesting boys basketball program that we are expecting to be really exciting this year. It is Garrettsville Garfield that is head coach Andrew Oleski. Enjoy this conversation that Ty was able to have with him on Running Point.
Welcome in, everybody. Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we're up in the Portage County area once again on the MVAC Gray side with Andrew Oleski, the Garrettsville Garfield boys basketball head coach. Coach Oleski, how we doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Thank you for joining us on this interview, Coach. First and foremost, this season has to be, I think, a breath of fresh air for you, considering what you were kind of dealing with last season in your own personal regard, too. Your own injuries, you kind of had to deal with that. I'm sure you kind of have an outlook of this season as like a fresh mind, clean slate. You don't have to worry about those things once you get home or throughout the day now. You can kind of just focus on basketball coaching.
Yeah, for the most part. Every year presents obstacles and hurdles, and obviously the last 2 years with COVID stuff. Actually, this time last year, I think we were on a 1-week pause. So it's kind of nice not to have that. I'm kind of used to getting kids a few weeks late due to football success, and that's a good problem. I think I mentioned that last year with you guys. I believe that, their success is going to help breed our success, and it's all reciprocated. But it's good. Every season brings challenges and different obstacles, and every season is different, and that's part of the fun. That's part of the challenge of the job. But to say it's refreshing, I don't know if that's the right word, but, we all wish it could be smooth, but that's just not realistic. But again, we're just happy to get started. We got a great group of kids. They're hardworking. They're kind. They're eager to get better. And that is the refreshing part because of the attitudes of the kids. So in that respect, yes, I agree with you right there.
So we talk about the challenges of last season. Despite all that 16-10 record, you guys win a couple of playoff games too, and a moderately successful season by Garfield standards. Looking at last season, though, and kind of how it ended, what were kind of your takeaways from last season, and what were kind of the points you wanted to grow on with the returning boys?
Well, I was 1,000% last season pleased with our improvement and growth throughout the course of the season. One thing we always do around here, we always get better as the season progresses. Even though we started out 3-0, we kind of hit some speed bumps, so to speak, after that. And then we ended the season before we lost in the tournament on a 5-game winning streak. So to me, that is improvement. That embodies improvement. We won our first tournament game at home. We went on the road and beat a very talented, well-coached Newton Falls team in the tournament. And then we kind of ran into a buzzsaw with New Middletown Springfield, and they only lost 2 games all season. So there's no shame in losing to a better team. They did a very nice job on us, specifically defensively. And again, they beat a lot of teams. They're a great team, and there's no shame in that. But I was pleased with the way our kids progressed throughout the course of the season, both offensively and defensively. And to answer the second part of your question, that's our expectation with our returners. We are expecting our kids to get better offensively. We are expecting our kids to get better defensively, day to day, week to week, game to game, month to month, from the start of the season to the end of the season. And they know that, and they expect that. And that is the expectation, what we want to take away.
Fast forwarding it to this season, let's get a chance to meet that team, meet some of those returning faces, and maybe some new faces inside the G-Men community that we're going to have to get used to.
Well, I wish I could sit here and name all of them. We do have a lot of turnover. We lost four very talented seniors that contributed tremendously. And anytime you're replacing that talent, that leadership, those people, those contributions, it's going to be a challenge. But we got some role players stepping in from last year that are expected to play larger roles this year. Speaking specifically of senior Jackson Summer, he will be counted on to do a lot more. He did a nice job off the bench for us last year. Same goes true with Vinny Grandizio, a post player who's had a very nice scrimmage start to the season. Same with Carter Bates, Leo Grandizio. Those are the guys that are returning that got some experience last year that we're counting on, as well as a flock of sophomores that we're counting on. That are making the jump from JV to the varsity level. And all of those kids, anytime you're making a jump in roles, in terms of roles on the team or from JV to varsity, there's going to be a learning curve. But we're excited because, like I alluded to earlier, that's going to show us the improvement that we're going to make throughout the course of the season. We've had some nice moments in scrimmages already. We've had some learning moments already in scrimmages, and that's okay. It's where we're at. We're just expecting the kids to come in and work hard day to day, week to week, like I said earlier. But again, with that change, that turnover that we have, and due to the fact that we lost so much production up from those four seniors, it's going to take some time, and that's okay. But these kids, their mindset, their work ethic, it's going to foster that growth, and we're excited to see that.
I often see a lot of growth in this sport from that freshman to sophomore year, especially once kids get their feet wet in that freshman year and they come back sophomore year, you see them a lot more comfortable in their skin. So in saying that, you talked about that sophomore class being competitive and fighting for spots. What are the kind of the things that you and your other coaches are kind of looking for, the finer things inside those practices that determine playing time, that determine if you're going to be on that starting role, if you're going to get more playing time than others? What kind of determines that, outside of obviously the skill set? What are those kind of finer things that you're looking at?
Well, we always want work ethic. We want the kids working hard, and that's not going to be a problem this year. This team works hard. These kids work hard. We want coachability. It's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes kids don't always accept the coaching, but that's also not going to be a problem with this year. And the way we're kind of wired, to answer your question, the way we're kind of wired with the new kids stepping into different roles, coupled that with some depth that we have, it's going to be different every single night for us. We've noticed that already in scrimmages, from scrimmage to scrimmage and from quarter to quarter within the scrimmages. We're going to have some kids that are, some nights it's a struggle. Some nights it's going to be going well. And we're going to be able to mix and match as we go. But what we're looking at specifically, you kind of alluded to that. How are they going that specific night? Are they learning the plays? Are they executing? Are they? Sometimes it could be matchup based. There's so many answers to that question. And sometimes, there's other things going on. Nowadays as a coach, you got to realize that, something may be in school's bothering, or maybe something at home has bothered them. So it's not just one thing. It's all of those things. Obviously, as a coach, it comes down to execution. Are the kids executing the plays? Are they making shots? Are they defending the guy that they're guarding? Are they helping out? All of that stuff. It's everything. And as a coach, I'm realistic that kids are going to make mistakes, and that's okay. I try telling them, okay, it's okay if you make a mistake. Your favorite NBA player makes mistakes. Just learn from it and move on. I think that's another answer to your question right there. If we continue to make the same mistake, that's not a good thing. But that's okay. Making a mistake's okay. So again, it's everything. It's hard to pin one answer to that question. It is the grand scope of things, and that's okay. Our kids realize that, and we're looking forward to the challenges coaches and getting the best out of them.
There was no doubt a ton of talent inside this gray side of the MVAC a year ago. And they're going to be bringing back a decent amount, but considering what Memorial, LeBray, and Liberty lost, looking at Campbell, LeBray, and Liberty, I got to figure you guys being right in that middle of the pack, you bring in some of that fight, that hunger, and I know the kind of group you got on your hand. Have there been talks inside the coaching staff with the team about making a run and grabbing that conference championship this year?
Honestly, no. We are so concerned right now with ourselves. We just got our full squad less than a week ago, to tell the truth. So we are so focused on ourselves right now in terms of installation, developing that skill set, getting these kids in basketball shape. No, we haven't. But to your point about the league, yes, last year it was an absolute meat grinder. And that is a credit to every single team in our league. You alluded to the fact that a lot of those teams lost a lot of their players, but all of these teams returned their coaches. And each one of these teams have quality coaches, and they are going to get their teams ready to play. They're going to be peaking at the right times. There's going to be no off nights again this year. And again, that's a compliment to all the coaches in the league and a compliment to the players as well, because they're going to be working hard. They're going to take their coaching. They're going to take everything that's given their way. And in a weird way, we all make each other better. I expect that to happen again this year. We finished 7-7 in the MVAC last year, and I was proud of that fact because of what
year too, correct? First year in the conference too, correct?
First year in the conference, we finished 7-7, and 500. Some people might say, well, you can do better than that, but the league was a meat grinder. And again, that's a credit to the players. And like I said, all the coaches are returning, so I expect the same. It's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be exciting, and we're up to it.
Whether or not the thoughts are there or not, you guys got at least 5 non-conference games, it looks like, to prepare you before the start of the conference schedule. And it looks like a lot of those non-conference games, you're sticking with the Portage area schools, and that's perfectly fine because there's a lot of talent here. Just looking at these non-conference games and the non-conference schedule as a whole, too, how do you feel personally as a coach in these games preparing your boys before a tournament?
Well, honestly, it's the same thing I just said last night. I have not played the schedule game, the schedule game yet. I've looked at it. I know who we open with. I know all that stuff. But my focus right now is so much on our guys getting better. And my focus right now, to tell you the truth, is tonight's practice. And then after tonight's practice, my focus is tomorrow's scrimmage. But to try to answer your question, I am very I do know our schedule, and I do know that we open up with some tough teams. We open up with Southeast, an old league foe. They're well coached. They're hardworking. They're tough. They're physical. And then 2 nights later, we have our rival in town, which is Wyndham. Who we played over the summer. They return a lot of players. They got a new coach this year, but that is going to be an exciting part for them. Exciting part for me, learning them. And then the very next night we play Bristol. So we open up with 3 games that we're going to have to be ready to go. And again, that's part of our challenge. And again, that's why my focus is on us right now. And early on as a coach, it is kind of tough to get scouting reports on opposing teams. We know we have an understanding of what's going on and who comes back and what they ran in years past, but that's no guarantee for this year. So again, that's why my focus lies on within our guys. But we're excited for every game. It's not just the first game or the non-league games or the Portage County games. We're excited, and we're going to do our best as coaches, and we're going to do our best as players to be ready for that challenge.
With so many fall sports, there's so many people getting off to different jumps too, as team-wise, coaching-wise. Some teams have been practicing for 3 weeks. Like you said, you guys have been practicing for a week. But in saying that too, let's get a way too early, I guess, scouting report of your team, and just what are some strengths that you're seeing early on from your guys that you guys are going to need to lean on this season to get wins?
Well, strength-wise, I kind of alluded to this earlier, and I know this is coach speak, and it's probably not going to reveal much. But again, we work hard. We are coachable. We want to get better. I know that doesn't answer your question per se, but it's the truth. More towards the side of answering your question, we have depth. That's going to allow us to mix and match on various nights. It's going to allow us to play maybe a little faster, maybe do some things defensively that we haven't done in years past. It's going to allow us to hopefully play to our strengths, which, again, without revealing too much, we are going to try to do some things to exploit our strengths and help our cause. But again, the transition, from previous question, the transition from roles, that's going to play a factor. But again, just the overall willingness of our team to buy in, to work hard, to be coachable. That's what's going to be one of our strengths. As a coach, it's going to be a challenge to find out the mix and match, who's working well on that particular night. But at the same time, that's also a strength because we have that depth. And we're still learning because of, like I said, the turnover. We are still learning our strengths. And once we figure out that strength, and we think we have a pretty good idea of it right now, we're going to do our best to put our talent and our team in the position to succeed based on those strengths.
One thing Garrettsville does very well that has a strength is getting good coaches and coaching staffs in place for these programs. So with saying that, I know you get all the limelight, you get the interviews, Coach, but I know your staff too around you works just as hard and they do a great job for you as well. So I want to give you the chance to shout out your assistants, shout out some other big names in this program too that you couldn't do it without.
Oh, my assistants are great. The varsity assistant is the same last year. His name is Tommy Bissler. I think I mentioned this on the interview last year. He was a player for me. He graduated in 2017. He was a member of the district championship team. I mentioned this last year. His growth as a coach has been incredible. He is very vital to what I do. I lean on him. I give him a lot to say. He has been tremendous in all facets of the staff in terms of preparation for games, practice, everything you can think of. Definitely he deserves a shout out, as does our JV coach / varsity assistant, Matt Hill. He joined us last year. He came from the middle school and then he bumped up last year to JV. Again, JV/varsity assistant. His enthusiasm, his knowledge for the game, his passion for the kids is very, very evident. And he and Tommy both have been huge in doing some of the stuff that behind the scenes that people don't realize. I always tell people that like what they see on Tuesday and Friday nights is like 10% of what coaches do. And that is a big 10%. But what Matt and Tommy do behind the scenes that people in the public don't see has been tremendous. And they deserve, like I said, the recognition that you're allowing me to give them right now because they are tremendous. We did lose an assistant. Randy Ward was on our staff last year. That's going to be tough to replace. He is now the head girls coach at Bristol. So congratulations to Randy. I am now a Bristol Lady Panthers fan. But again, replacing him is going to be a challenge. But the three of us, we're up to it. And that's a credit to Tommy. That's a credit to Matt. And we're not going to let anything stand in our way. We work hard, and we're going to be on the kids and prepare them the best we can.
I know that sometimes staff stay the same, sometimes they change up, but they're always important vitally year in and year out for these programs. Coach, before I let you go, I want to give you the little bit of shameless self-promotion that I give all these teams. Let that community know why they need to get out and support the G-Men this year and why they're going to be worth it to watch.
I appreciate that opportunity because the community does need to know these are good kids, good people. Again, the work ethic, the coachability, and I think I've said this like this is the fourth time I've mentioned this. It's true. You know, it's somebody you can relate to. It is somebody that you can get behind because they're just good kids that work hard, that want to get better. And they just kind of embody the characteristics and players and teams that you just want to get behind. They're easy to like, they're easy to love. And, you know, we're going to have our ups, we're going to have our downs, but that's part of the process. And that's what part of makes high school basketball and high school sports so exciting. But you're going to see some exciting things. You're going to see sometimes you might want to pull your hair out, but at the same time, you might turn to the person next to you in the stand and say, wow, that was pretty nice. But again, the work ethic, the kindness of the kids, the team first mentality, and it's just a good group to get behind, and it's what you seek in athletes, and it's a credit to the kids.
We're certainly excited to see them this year. Hopefully some continued success from the football season onto the hardwood for the G-Men. I'll be in the gym a few times this season. I'm excited to see what you guys have in store. And don't forget, you guys can catch some Garrettsville Garfield boys basketball games on ysnlive.com completely free, thanks in part to our wonderful sponsors. This has been our first edition of Coach's Corner with Garrettsville Garfield boys basketball head coach Andrew Oleski.
Andrew Oleski from Garfield joining Ty Bartell. We thank him for his time. We thank Coach Andrus for his time as well, as we got previews from both those teams, Salem and Garfield, on the show today as boys basketball season is quickly approaching. Let's go into the games that we're going to have tonight on the network. Tuesday, November 22nd, Lakeview at Brookfield, 7 o'clock tip-off. Sam from Lakeview will be having that call for you. West Branch at Canfield, Richard Giuliano and Anthony Romo will be on the call there at 7 o'clock. And also in East Liverpool, CJ Schroeds will have the call as the Potter girls open up their slate against Steubenville. Some other games that are happening but are not on the network. Kingsway Christian traveling to Sebring. Louisville will be hosting Jackson. And then South Range will be at Edgewood for you tonight as well. So those are the games that are happening. Make sure to go over to ysnlive.com/live to check out the live broadcast. Right under that, ysnlive.com/score, you can find the live scoreboard and keep up to date on all the scores that are happening tonight as well. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2. Scotty Mincher will be in the studio, and we will have more basketball previews to get to as well. Scotty always brings great conversation to the table, so we can't wait to be back with him in the studio on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And the rest of the week, it's more basketball, and it's also playoff previews as well as we get into the state semifinals on Friday and Saturday. Also tonight, that reminds me, don't forget, at Legends Food and Drink, live interviews with Coach Yeagley from South Range, and also a handful of South Range football players as well, as they get ready for the state semifinal against Liberty Center on Friday night. So don't miss that. Legends Food and Drink is where it is all at. They've been the host of South Range all season, and hopefully we can have one more week with South Range as well, as maybe we'll be back there next Tuesday talk about a state championship game. Who knows? Hopefully it's in the cards. South Range playing Liberty Center on Friday. We're going to be, previewing that, talking about that the rest of the week, and it's going to be a fun time. I'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 on Running Point. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And as always, we are brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We'll see